Hello and welcome to Pop Culture Shark, a live stream about all things pop culture. I'm Final Monkey,
And I'm Caleb.
and today we are going to talk about two beloved spin-offs, Star Trek The Next Generation and Star Wars The Clone Wars. But before that, let's check in. Caleb, how you been doing?
I've been better recently than I was beforehand. I was extremely sick uh, past couple weeks here in Louisville. I think we've got a flu going around, so everyone's kind of getting it. I got a knack for being sick on my birthday. I'm 26 now. My birthday was December 5th. Um, so yeah, that was cool. I'm at the point where I don't get cool I don't get cool stuff for my birthday, which is fine because I got an office chair since I've been working from home. I've been needing an office chair because I've been sitting in a kitchen chair for the past 6 months.
Right.
So it's nice to get an office chair. Grandparents got me an indoor sunlight because we're starting to get into those months where it's yucky outside if I want to open my window. So not your traditional child birthday presents, but necessary and cool adult presents nonetheless. Other than that, you know, I don't know what it is, but when I'm sick, I love to watch procedural cop dramas. So I've been watching a lot of The Closer for some
There you go.
reason.
Yep.
I also went far too deep into Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared.
Yeah.
Um, and there's new Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared now too. I didn't know about that.
Yeah, I've watched a couple of the new ones. I haven't finished it yet.
Uh, I and then I just went into ARG. I started watching other stuff. It all, you know what it is? It all started because I was trying to watch just weird. It started with Skin Theory. Skin Theory is a SpongeBob YouTube video that's like an hour long and it talks about SpongeBob skin theory. So I watched that,
I'm sorry. I'm
which
sorry. What theory?
skin theory.
Okay, I haven't heard that one. Okay.
Okay, so skin theory has to do with the fact that like everyone is dressed up as fish, but they're already fish. Um, very very weird. Um, but I thought it was weird, and I'm like, yeah, I'm on decongestant, I'm on drugs. Let's watch weird SpongeBob theories while I'm sick. And so I started watching Alex Bale, who does SpongeBob theories, and then by like his third theory, it becomes an ARG where there's like this monster that he feeds like live cats to, and then it gives him more SpongeBob theories. And then I look up on like film theory, and they've got like these whole theories about his because his sponsor that he's always talking about is fake, and I didn't notice that. He's like, he's like, today's sponsor for this SpongeBob theory is Happy Meat Farms. Blah blah blah. He go to this whole thing, and it sounds just real enough that maybe it's not fake, and so I never thought about it. Um, but then you go onto their website. I've had quite a weird week being sick.
That's awesome. I love it
But
when you go down the internet rabbit hole, and also you're like, "Where am I?"
right, yeah. And the thing is I'm still not out of it. That's the worst part. I'm on the up and up. I'm feeling better, but I'm still not out of that rabbit hole. So, what about you? Where's your sanity at?
I have been having really bad dizzy spells, and turns out I've got a really bad inner ear infection. So, went to the doctor this morning for that. So, hopefully, once I get on antibiotics, that'll get corrected. So, yeah, I was, um, still watching Chainsaw Man, and it hit a really bad cliffhanger. and I was like, screw it. And I went to the library and got all the mangas and read through everything. So now I'm caught up on Chainsaw Man, the manga. So, or at least part one. I've read all the way through part one, and now there's a part two. The library didn't have any of the part two books, so that's fine. I'm at a good stopping point. Um, so yeah, that's a wild manga.
I
um,
still need to watch Chainsaw Man. I think I've seen like the first half of the first episode or something.
yeah, it takes some turns. Let's see what else. Um, so all my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle figures that I ordered for Black Friday arrived, and I'd had like 4 or 5 sets or boxes I hadn't opened, so I finally opened and displayed them all. Um, so I was doing that the other night. So it's one of those things where I was like, oh, I'm just gonna buy the 4 turtles and then maybe the Archie figures when they come out, and now all of a sudden I have all these other figures I was not planning on buying. You know how it goes.
Yeah, you know what? So a couple weeks ago, Cameron and I went to our stomping grounds through the decades, um, which is here in Louisville, and they had like these Foot Clan figures.
Hmm.
It was like a 4 pack. Where it's yeah, um, but it's in a box that looks like an old Nintendo game.
Yeah, yeah.
I just thought those were cool.
Yeah, they're like, I think, are those the ones that are like different colors, based like on the video games where they're all like different color foot soldiers and
Yeah, yeah, and they got different weapons.
yeah, I can't go. I have to have limits. I it's like the other day I saw that these Ninja Turtle Funkos that I was interested in were all on clearance. I could have picked them all up for like $50, and I was like, I can't do it. I have to draw lines.
Were they the Funkos that are the old comic Funkos? Because I think I've seen
Yeah,
those. Where they all got the same color bandanas.
yeah, and
Yeah, I've
they
seen
had
those.
like they were all like $9 a piece, and they had Casey and Shredder with free shipping. And I was just like, I can't pull the trigger. It was really tempting. Um, I try to keep Funkos in check because I know they'll take over. Like I go to my brother's house and there's just Funkos everywhere, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
I I I probably have like, we'll say like 12 Funkos, and I'm like, you know,
So I'm one of those people where I recognize, um, because I'm the same way. Um, but at the same time, I recognize that as people think that I'm a nerd, think that I'm a nerd. Of course, I am. Um, but a Funko is a very easy birthday and or Christmas gift for someone to get me,
yeah,
and so I recognize that, and so I'm trying to think. I think I've only ever bought one Funko Pop, and the rest of them have all been gifts, which is cool. They're always cool to have, but I know that if I buy them and people get them for me as gifts, that would be way too much.
yeah. And I typically only support like gargoyles. I bought all those because it's like I have to support this line, or else there wouldn't be no more gargoyles products. You know?
Well, the only Funko Pop that I have ever purchased myself was the Harley Quinn from the Suicide Squad movie, not the James Gunn one.
Yeah. So yeah, and I could get into the Funkos. I'll get ones that are weird. Um, I've got like the Spider Man where he's dressed up as Bagman with the little Fantastic Four outfit, and I put a little "kick me" sign on his back. 'Cause I was like,
Yeah,
why is the "kick me" sign not on this figure? That's the funniest
yeah.
part of the outfit. Um,
You know what? No, I bought two because I also bought the Machine Gun Kelly Pop, so I did buy that one.
so I'm thinking that we need to do an episode about our collections, maybe one night.
Yeah.
Different things that we collect. That'd be really fun. Other news for me: Gargoyles issue 1 came out. So
Oh. How was
it
that?
was it was good. It was mostly a catch up of, hey, for those of you who didn't read the other comic books, here's the things that happen. Here's the current state of things type thing.
Is
And
it a mini series or is it an ongoing?
as far as I know, it's an ongoing.
Okay.
And I heard that the like over 100,000 pre-orders, it was like
Yeah,
really
yeah.
high. So I'm hoping it stays up as successful. Hopefully Disney doesn't do something stupid and raise the licensing fees, and then they're like, "Oh, we couldn't afford it anymore, so we had to kill the book." I think that's what happened to the last series. Um,
Yeah.
so, but there's hints of where the storyline is going, So it was just I'm sure it'll read much better in the trade, So
Honestly, that's how comic books are now. Like,
exactly, and that's what I expect. And normally I would just wait for the trade, but like I said, if I want more gargoyles, you gotta support it. So, um, yeah. But that's about it for what I've been up to. So let's get into some news. Um, First up, there was all kinds of rumors last week about DC. Most of it I don't think were true. The one thing that we can confirm is that Wonder Woman 3, Patty Jenkins, the director, has walked off the project. That's probably the one thing that, yeah, we could confirm that. Everything else, I'd say, is probably undecided or, um, just speculation at this point. I think they're still making up their minds about the next Superman movie or who's playing what and so on.
yeah. I mean, it's James Gunn is in a rough spot, and I feel bad for him because he's definitely not going to make everyone happy. Um, I bet you he's probably not even going to make everyone happy, like in his own circle.
Right, because you're trying to, the fans want one thing, and it's like how much of the old thing do you keep going? Because you're going to have to tear something up to get the new stuff going.
Yeah,
Something has to get tore up. One of the most interesting things I've heard getting tore up is Aquaman. That Jason Momoa is going to be recast as Lobo,
I have heard that.
which I'm all for.
Yeah,
I'm more for I like more of a traditional Aquaman, the blonde. I don't mind being grizzled, but I never felt like Jason Momoa was quite the right casting. I like Jason Momoa a lot, but I never felt he was really.
he was the Peter David Aquaman.
Yeah, and that's fine, but I
He
don't
didn't
know.
have, but the problem is he didn't have the spear for a hand though. Like they didn't go all the way with it.
Yeah, so I think if I'm James Gunn, I think we talked about this a little bit. A lot happened since our last
I
show.
know, I
We
know.
talked about how to fix things, and then all heck broke loose. Like as soon as the show ended a couple weeks ago, a lot of shakeups at Disney and so on. Um, but I don't really want to get into it tonight because that's not the topic for the night. Uh, but I think that the Flash movie is kind of a perfect send off of, oh, hey, Flash screwed up the timelines. Here's the new timeline. And then just start making new movies, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. Well, and like, and that's the cool thing because what I don't think that like studios have completely grasped this idea yet. But I think James Gunn has because he's a comic book fan.
Hmm.
Uh, Whenever a convergence or whenever a Secret Wars or whenever a Crisis on Infinite Earths happens, you can do whatever you want after that and it
Yep.
will make sense. Like you can have Henry Cavill as Superman, but recast your Batman.
Hmm.
And I mean and people will just have to accept that. People be okay with that because I mean it's all been reset. And honestly, at this point, I don't care what James Gunn does as long as he keeps Henry Cavill around as Superman. Um,
What I could see them doing is doing a Wonder Woman 3 with Gal Gadot, do some type of Batman movie with Ben Affleck, do a Superman movie with Cavill, and then do some type of Kingdom Come movie that ends everything, and then you kind of reboot. I could see them doing something like that, kind of like a send off to the current DC universe. Um, so I either see that, or they just kind of do a hybrid of, okay, here's what we're keeping, and then we're going to change other stuff. Um, the only thing that's kind of for sure right now is Joker 2 has started filming, so we know we're getting that.
Yeah,
Um, so
I think that's hilarious.
I'm really curious about Joker 2. I still haven't
Yeah,
seen the first one, but there's a part of my brain that says a musical with Lady Gaga as Harley Quinn kind of makes sense.
yeah.
So
Well, but here's my thing. Is as a sequel to Joker, it doesn't make sense.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
uh, a sequel to I said this whenever that film came out. A sequel to Joker doesn't make sense. That's not what they made is not a franchise.
no, but I think with the Joker, you could every movie just do a whole different what's the word I'm looking for? Not theme, but just a different
Genre.
genre every movie. Just because he's the Joker, who cares? Like it's like, okay, now we're going into Joker's insanity. This is his perception of the world, and just lean into the madness,
All right. So here we go. How about this? Let's start some brainstorming. Joker 1 is about the Joker's perception on life. Joker 2 is about Harley Quinn's perception on life, and it's a musical.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Joker 3, uh, I I would like to say the Joker 3 is about the goons Punch and Judy, um, and their perception of life, and then Joker 4 is about Bud and Lou, the hyenas.
Oh, okay.
And then we just every single Joker movie is about a different goon that the Joker has, and about how they view life with the Joker.
Sure.
Oh, and Bud and Lou, they don't talk. They're just hyenas.
Yeah. So it's and and it's like from a dog's point of view. So it's like,
A black and white movie.
well, that and the humans talk, but it's like gibberish. Like it doesn't make any sense what they're saying, other than when they say Bud or Lou. Everything else is just gibberish. Just
Yeah. Also, the goons Punch and Judy, they don't talk either. So that you keep that going. I'm trying to think of like how you could keep this Sony Spider-Man Joker's cinematic universe thing going.
Oh, like their own separate thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, but the beauty of Warner Bros. Is they have the rights to all the characters, unlike Sony. You could do
yeah.
whatever. You could do a Riddler sequel. You could do whatever. Um,
I I I am very like sometimes I mourn the fact that we didn't get Johnny Depp as the Riddler. Not Johnny Depp, Leonardo DiCaprio as the Riddler in a Nolan Batman movie.
that would have been interesting.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, here I just had an idea for another topic. We gotta write these down. Uh, we ought to like find a list, like the 100 most popular DC characters. A list we don't create, and then just
I was gonna
quickly go
say
down.
we just created the list.
Yeah, but we just go down the list and say, okay, which one deserves a movie, and which one this character. Like I could see maybe a Mister Freeze movie, but I don't know if like a Bane movie, or there's certain characters I think could carry a movie, and then certain ones that couldn't. But
No,
that might be
Bane is in a Suicide Squad movie. That's my pitch. You get Batista in one of these James Gunn Suicide Squad movies. Oh yeah.
Batista.
What I mean, like after Guardians 3, he's gonna be out of work.
That this is true. Um, Speaking of Guardians, did you watch the holiday special?
I did. I loved it.
Yeah, I really enjoy the Marvel holiday specials. That's the one good thing they've been doing lately.
Yeah.
um,
Oh man, it was good. And then Kevin Bacon was in it, and he was Kevin Bacon.
Hmm.
You got Kira Sedgwick on the phone, and that's funny because I've been watching The Closer. No, it was great, and I don't remember in Guardians 2, did they establish that Star Lord and Mantis could be siblings?
No, I think in Guardians 2, Mantis said something like he found me like as an egg or something weird. Like he found Ego found me as an egg and raised me like as a pet or something. Um,
Okay.
but I didn't. Last couple of days, I was thinking about that. I was like, there's a whole storyline in the comic books where Mantis is called the Celestial Madonna, and she's like way more powerful than she should be. And this could be a way to do that, saying, "Oh, Ego's her dad. She's way more stronger than we're being led on to believe." So,
Yeah, yeah. Now, whenever I asked that question, I'm not complaining. I thought that that was the heart of the
oh
show.
yeah, yeah, that and the
Um,
Yondu stuff. Yeah,
oh
it
yeah,
was
oh
good.
yeah. That's
Uh,
the thing is it's always been about parentage, which is interesting because you've got to think about the fact that perhaps Guardians 3 we're getting Rocket's parentage.
I think we're definitely getting
Yeah.
Rocket's parentage. Um, Yeah, let me switch the picture here. So we're gonna talk. I forgot about the trailer, Guardians 3. We could definitely talk about that.
Yeah. Uh,
Um,
there was another trailer, but I didn't care for it.
there was quite a few trailers that because there was like some Comic Con going on.
Was
Uh,
it Quantumania? Wait, if it was Quantumania, I didn't care for that trailer. Sure, whatever.
no, it was. There was an Indiana Jones trailer.
Oh
There was
yeah.
a Transformers Beast Wars trailer,
Oh
and
yes, yes. Should I go ahead and just clear the air about my thoughts on
sure, go
Beast
ahead and talk
Wars?
about Beast Wars on Blow Up Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
Okay, so that trailer looks really good. I've never been a Beast Wars guy. I've never really understood it or gotten it, so um, but that trailer looks pretty decent. It looks like a lot of fun.
Uh,
Um,
really quick, Beast Wars. The basic plot is the original Transformers cartoon. The Autobots and Decepticons crash land on prehistoric Earth. This was a second ship that followed them on prehistoric Earth, and while those guys are in hibernation, these other ones crashed and were now living in prehistoric times and took the forms of dinosaurs and whatnot, um, and had battles. Uh,
Now
it
that is not the plot of the movie. The
No, no, no,
movie
no, 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 no,
is
no, 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 no. That was the old cartoon show. What made Beast Wars cool was there was a Decepticon named Dinobot who basically got kicked off the Decepticons, and he ended up reluctantly joining the Autobots. And his story was the fun story, or I guess the Maximals, not the Autobots. So his story is what's interesting. Is he's like this evil guy who's trying to become a good guy, kind of your Vegeta type character.
yeah,
So that's a lot of fun.
yeah. And then
Cor- Yeah, go ahead.
uh so there's Optimus Primal, which I will say that's a great name. I love it. I think it's hilarious.
Hmm.
Um, his final form, Cameron informed me of this. He's got like the super form where he merges with the hibernating Optimus Prime, and his name is Optimal Optimus, and
Sure.
that is the dumbest name ever.
What I find annoying is the Megatron in Beast Wars is not the same Megatron the other show. They should have gave him a different name. I guess they couldn't come up as anything as clever as Optimus Prime. We'll say they just left him as Megatron.
Yeah, I mean, apparently the villain of Rise of the Beast isn't Megatron anyway, and it's not even like their version of Megatron either. It's somebody else or something.
Yeah, I heard Terracons being thrown around and stuff. So we'll see. Or the
Now,
Predacons.
there is one problem that I have.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'll have to look this up because I don't know We've got Guardians up on the screen, but we're talking about Transformers
I know. I was
Reactivate
just thinking that. I was
trailer.
like, when we had Wonder Woman up, we were talking about Guardians, and now we're talking about Transformers.
Yeah.
Okay, we're
Did you see that
excellent.
Transformers Reactivated trailer?
I did. I don't know what to think of it.
So here's the thing. I was making fun of that trailer through the whole. Cameron and I were making fun of that trailer the whole time
Hmm.
because that's what you do during the Game Awards is you kind of roast it Mr. Science Theater style. Um, but then it was a Transformers game, and it's like, oh, okay, hold on, I'm interested. Anyway, so Ron Perlman as Optimus Prime is going to be a lot of fun. I dig that. Um, my only thing is it seems like the you know how like the human character has like a has like an Autobot that they kind of buddy with, like Sam Witwicky and Bumblebee are always together. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Um, so the character Noah, played by Anthony Ramos, which I do love Anthony Ramos. He was great in The Heights. Um, from what I could tell, he was riding in a Porsche the whole trailer, right?
Yes.
Well, this Porsche is Mirage, a silver blue Porsche 964.
Hmm.
Do you know who plays Mirage?
I do not.
Pete Davidson, which
Oh, I'm
means
out. I'm out.
yeah, like I don't need Pete Davidson to be the star of this movie.
I'm out.
Yeah.
You almost had me. I'm out.
So anyway, yeah, surprisingly, my biggest problem with um, who knows what the topic is? I know, right? Um, we're just listen. I'm still on decongestants, and so I'm going back and forth between things. This is my last thing on Transformers. Um, you almost had me, and then you brought in Pete Davidson. All right. Anyway, yeah, Guardians 3 trailer. I dig it.
Yeah, it looks really cool. I was looking up stuff. The scientists in the trailer are the Concave. They play a big part in the creation of Adam Warlock, so that makes sense they would be there. You got High Evolutionary. You've got
High
uh,
Evolutionary is gonna be the bad guy, right?
yeah, and
Uh,
then I cannot remember what the otter's name is. Lila, I think it's Lila.
yes, yes,
Yeah,
it is.
she's from the comic book, so that's fun that she's there.
So, do you think she's
Um,
gonna be the heartbreaking part? Like Rocket's gonna remember his love for her, and then
she
she's
might.
gonna betray him.
I think so. There's something going to happen there. And I think they're on Counter Earth is where they're at. Because that's on the opposite side of the sun in the comics.
Yeah.
The planet looks like
And
Earth.
Counter Earth is the Earth from Spider-Man Unlimited, right?
Yeah, the Knights of Wondergore. Yeah, all those creatures. That's the Animen. Yeah, that's what's in the
Oh,
trailer.
I just need at the end of the movie, I want Spider-Man with a web cape to be chasing after Venom and Carnage, and then
And
he's saved by the Green Goblin.
he finally finds out where Mary Jane is at the end of the movie. I
Right.
found Mary Jane. Oh, that is a joke that nobody will get unless you watched a cartoon from 30 years ago. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, this trailer looks awesome. There's
My
like
boy used to scrub, grew up. I'm excited.
uh there's like three things from Marvel I'm looking forward to. This is one of them. This and Deadpool 3 and the Daredevil Born Again. Other than that, I feel like I'm kind of done with Marvel these days.
You know what though? Like if we've got Iger back, uh,
That's
then
not a good thing.
right. If we've got what? No, that's what I'm saying. If we've got Iger back, should we be excited for Daredevil?
I don't know because the TVMA Daredevil was greenlit by Chapek. Deadpool
Oh,
3 greenlit by Chapek. Phase 4 greenlit by Iger. So
yeah.
um all the Star Wars movies that have sucked greenlit by Iger. Strange
But
World greenlit by Iger. I mean, so
but
you're,
was it the good Star Wars show? Was Andor greenlit by Iger?
I mean, a lot of that is Kathleen Kennedy at the end of the day. Um, and I feel like we are all over the place tonight, and that's fine. I feel like
A lot happened.
a lot. Yeah, we haven't in what 3 weeks, I guess it was. So we've last live streamed.
Yeah.
Uh, I feel like Kathleen Kennedy has her pet projects on Star Wars, so she has other stuff going on that she doesn't pay attention to. And when she doesn't pay attention to it, that's when you get a Mandalorian. That's when you get an Andor, and then she tries to take credit for it. Right now she's laser focused on Indy 5 and the mess that is.
I so is it gonna be like time travel?
Uh huh.
Okay. I mean, I guess like the dial of destiny, so you dial back the clock, I guess.
It's the pick of destiny. Yeah, and it's like the worst title. Um,
I mean, if you, yeah, it's
it doesn't quite fit the. Someone brought it up the other day. Like, um, it doesn't fit the theme of like the first three movies. Like the Raiders of the Lost Ark, the Temple of Doom.
I mean, it doesn't even fit Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Like,
Yeah.
like even Kingdom of the Crystal Skull is a better title. Like, so I've actually had this issue with a lot of Disney stuff. Post Phase 3, names are getting bad.
Oh, and my biggest pet peeve with modern anything is they're not being creative. They're just recycling names now. They're like, oh, it's Secret Wars again, or oh, it's this again, and you're like, no, come up with a new name.
Yeah. I
That-
think one of the coolest things that we could have had, but we never had it, was Secret Crisis. I was so excited for Secret Crisis, and it didn't happen. um, but yeah, so like the Dial of Destiny, and the thing is they're making the logos like really weird and wonky to
Mhm.
like
Well, I think they're trying to
hey,
make it a franchise.
yeah, um, but it's like Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness is a
Mhm.
bad title. It's a bad title.
Terrible title. Should have been
Um,
called Wrath of the Witch or something.
um, Ant-Man and Wasp: Quantumania is a terrible title.
It's terrible, but until you realize how clever it is that Ant Man, the word Ant Man is hidden in Quantum Mania, which I don't know why they're not pointing that out in the advertising. They should just say Quantum Mania, then have Ant Man light up
Yeah.
in the title or something.
Yeah. But we're getting too. I mean, Thor: Love and Thunder. It was a. It was an okay title, but only after you see the movie.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, we're just there. We are getting some. Wakanda Forever was a good title. I'll give you that. I'm trying to think of some other
I
titles, but
I kind of prefer the Guardians of the Galaxy. It's just Volume 3. you
yeah,
know.
I love that. I love that. It's great. I was concerned that Guardians of the Galaxy was going to have like a. You know what it is? It's like we've got like these stupid Star Trek names for the search for Spock, the undiscovered country. Like
Yeah.
we got these stupid Star Trek names, but for Marvel movies now and
And the, and
Indiana
those
Jones.
and those got lazy towards the end. It was like Insurrection or Nemesis. You're like, what is that?
Yeah.
What?
Wait, Nemesis. Does that mean that Tom Hardy's the villain? That's right, Tom Hardy. I remember you were the villain in Nemesis, and you can't hide it.
Or Star Trek Into Darkness. That's such a stupid title.
Yeah. Star Trek Beyond is such a nothing title, but it's a great movie. So
Yeah, is that the third one? I get them
yeah,
mixed up. Okay, yeah, that one's pretty good. Um,
the best Star Trek movie is just called Star Trek, though.
we could. Well, I guess this is a Star Trek show. We could have a
It's
debate about. I think that First Contact's still my favorite, or Voyage Home, one of those. But
I
um,
love Undiscovered Country.
yeah,
So
that's a good one too.
I'll go ahead and give you a sneak preview. I think I like TOS more than TNG. I think that's just a possibility.
But
So
let's put a pin in that. We'll
yeah,
come right
yeah,
back to that because we gotta
we'll get there. We'll get there.
let's
We gotta
hop through our last couple of news stories, and then we'll jump into that. Uh, this came out of nowhere. There's a Toe Jam and Earl movie announced. I don't know if you saw this.
No, I didn't.
Toe Jam and Earl was one of my favorite games when I was a kid. Um, and what's weird is that it's coming from Stephen Curry. So, but a Toe Jam and Earl movie has been announced. I don't know if it's going to be on Amazon. It's like maybe, uh, but I'm all for a Sega movie universe. Um, I like it when they realize that there's more than. Although Toe Jam and Earl isn't really a Sega property, it was just on the Genesis. But just a whole Sega universe that extends
Get some
past
Echo
Sonic the Hedgehog.
get some Echo the Dolphin movies
Oh
going on.
yeah, Echo the Dolphin. That movie would be bat poo crazy with aliens eating dolphins and stuff. Yeah. Um,
Golden Axe the movie.
yeah, I heard they're trying to get a Streets of Rage movie going. And if
That
you're
I
good,
could see.
yeah, and if you're gonna do that, just do like one of those gritty '80s movies.
I'm thinking like the Warriors.
Yeah, yeah, one of those kind of low budget, no really big actors in it. Kind
Well,
of these.
but you'd have one big actor in it.
Yeah, but have it
Uh,
like a washed up action star from like the '90s or something.
no, I know exactly who you get. You'd get let me. I gotta look up his name. Uh, Mark Biscassos, or however you pronounce that.
No clue.
He's the Iron Chef America guy.
Oh
Who's
yeah, 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 yeah. He's done some acting. Yeah, I know you're
yeah.
talking about.
He was in the Double Dragon movie, and he was Kung Lao in Mortal Kombat Legacy. Just get him to do it.
Yeah, or I'm thinking like Johnny from Cobra Kai, or just somebody that just you're like, wait, what?
Just get like Dolph Lundgren or Jean Claude Van Damme.
Yeah, I don't know
Uh,
if I can go that big. Like one of the ones that tried to be an X star but didn't quite make it. Then you're like, oh, it's
Steven Seagal.
it's the Renegade guy. Oh, okay, something like
Just
that.
just get the guy from Kung Fury.
Yeah, yeah. Just just go for it. Get Cynthia Rockwall or whatever her name is that was in all those action movies in the 80s and 90s. Uh, yeah,
I'm trying to
that
think of some other. Now you got me on like the Sega Cinematic Universe, and I'm like, okay, so what about the? Oh, what was it that with Ooh La La Channel 5, the movie or something like
Space
that?
Channel 5 or whatever,
Yeah, Space Channel 5, starring Belle Delphine.
and you could have a CGI Michael Jackson in it. They could dance together. Yeah,
Oh
that
my
would.
gosh.
Yeah. Speaking of video games, let's touch on video game awards really quick. They were here last Thursday, I think.
Thursday, yeah.
Uh, I was kind of watching just to see what new trailers were going to be announced and stuff, and but yeah, I thought this game awards went a lot smoother. Well,
Yeah.
except for the one thing, uh,
Well, no,
but
I think there are a couple things. Why was Al Pacino there? Poor guy was having trouble reading that teleprompter.
oh, I
He
didn't
could.
see that part with him there.
Oh, so okay, so he announced the first award, which is for best performance,
Uh-huh.
and I mean, like he went for like 10 minutes because he couldn't read the teleprompter,
Yeah,
and then he says, and the game award goes to Christopher Judge, God of War Ragnarok.
Ragnarok. There you
Yeah.
go.
And then Christopher Judge gets up there and he's going for like 20 minutes on it. On like, I would like to thank this. I would like to thank. It's like Christopher Judge was trying to give away more Steam decks.
Oh yeah, yeah. I should have entered
Um,
that.
Cameron did. He did not win anything.
Yeah.
And then I think we also need to congratulate Game of the Year going to Elden Ring and also um, my Reformed Orthodox Rabbi Bill Clinton.
Absolutely. It's
Oh
just
my gosh.
if he had not said anything, he probably would have walked away and not gotten caught at all. And
I
just him
mean,
being up
like,
there on stage.
yeah, and you know what? I'm not gonna pretend like I saw him and I'm like, oh, he's not supposed to be up there. But like, if you look at this from the perspective of like Sesame Street, one of these things is not like the others.
Right, right.
You got
But
a bunch of like Asian businessmen, and you've got this Jewish teenager up there.
right, but you know,
That
maybe
that's
he
the
did the
thing.
music or something. Maybe they, you know,
That's the thing is like he gets up there and everyone's trying to decipher what his angle is, what's his narrative. He's just a 15-year-old Jewish boy who got up on stage and said Bill Clinton. Oh man.
yeah,
It,
that's pretty
oh
funny.
man, it was something, and it, God bless the internet that works really fast on the memes. Because like 2 minutes later, Cameron started showing me all these funny memes. Um, I was in our fighting game group chat. And I was like, you know what? I was really excited for the announcement of Reform Orthodox Jew Bill Clinton, Reformed
Rabbi.
Orthodox Rabbi Bill Clinton. I mean Jedi Survivor. Um, on a very serious note, I do love. First of all, I love my brother Cameron Monaghan. I love the actor Cameron Monaghan. He is he is a lot of fun. He genuinely seems like he enjoys playing Cal Kestis, and I'm really excited for Jedi Survivor. Um, and he's looking good. He got that scruff going. He's looking good. Um, that might be my favorite trailer. That or DS2. Hades 2 is really cool. Um, I don't know. There were a lot of fun announcements. Game Awards. Game Awards can be fun. Uh, as long as you accept the fact that um, some of it's going to be weird, like getting Al Pacino on stage for some reason.
I was hoping that at the end during the credits they cut to just Reggie just beating the mess out of this kid in the background. Just
Oh, I was so hype. Reggie was there. I haven't seen Reggie in so long.
yeah, I
But yeah,
did laugh when they did the Among Us joke with Reggie. That
oh
there's a
yeah,
killer in the audience.
that's great. Oh man, I don't want to ruin everyone's night, but statistically, there is a killer in the audience. I mean, that's I don't know. Like I think as long as like we don't take the game awards too seriously, um, and just have because like they at this point I feel like they're still having fun with it. Um, and it's not like the Oscars or the Golden Globes where like watching the Oscars and the Golden Globes at this point is so stressful. Like Will Smith can walk up on stage and smack anyone at any point.
Well, yeah, you would have thought the security would have been a lot more on this show after the Will Smith thing, and then the kid just walked right up on stage like, "Yo."
Yeah, I mean, oh. But yeah, yeah. I mean, I can confidently say that the only time I'm ever stressed during the Game Awards is whenever God of War Ragnarok is winning everything, and I'm like, please, dear God, Elden Ring needs to win Game of the Year. And thank God it did, because it deserved it. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, fun night, fun night.
All right, let's get to our main topic. Uh, so what we did was I am a I wouldn't say I'm a former Star Wars fan. I kind of just hit a wall where I just don't care. And Caleb has never been a Star Trek fan. So what we tried was Caleb sent me some Clone Wars episodes to watch that I've missed. And then I had Caleb watch some Star Trek Next Generation episodes, see if we could make them a Trekkie. So let's start with Star Trek.
Okay.
Let me pull up the list of episodes I sent you. So I sent you, I don't know, was it 6 episodes or it was, I don't remember how many there were.
Whatever it was, I didn't watch them in the order that you sent them. I found out what the order of release was, and I watched them in that order.
Okay, that's fine. Um, do, 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 do. So I just picked what I thought were some of the better episodes. Um, So let's start with best of both worlds. We'll just go down the list. What did you think of?
This was the best episode that I watched. Like my
Okay,
yeah, like I really enjoyed this episode. This was a lot of fun.
yeah, and
And
what was cool about this was part one aired in May, and then nobody knew what happened until September. So everybody
mhm.
was like everybody was talking about, okay, what the heck is going to happen?
Well,
Basically,
and
the
from
ending is I guess Picard gets captured by the Borg, and then they're going to fire on the Borg, and that's how it ended.
well, and from what I can tell, there was a point where Patrick Stewart was not going to come back,
And
um, and Riker was going to take over as captain, and what's her face was going to take over as first officer, and um, so like that was a possibility, which I think is really cool because at that point it doesn't just seem like a stunt. It actually there were stakes to it.
mm-hmm.
Uh, but yeah, I really enjoyed this episode. Uh, Remind me, because I am not a Trekkie. Was this the first appearance of the Borg?
No, there is another episode, a Q episode, where Q says you're not ready for what's out there, and he shows them a baby Borg, and it's like, oh, he's like the threat is coming, and so there's kind of like this build up for a year of there's these creatures out there. Then this is this is their first real encounter with them, though. Yeah.
Okay. Now I a cool thing is my dad has been going through on like HBO Max, watching through like the Star Trek movies.
Mm-hmm.
And so I sat down and watched a little bit of the slow motion picture with him.
Yeah.
Um, and I was watching like the guy, and he was like merging with the satellite or whatever,
Uh huh.
and I was like, wait, is that the birth of the Borg in the slow motion picture? Which
Because if you
apparently,
mix up the letters of Vigor, you do get Borg.
yeah, and apparently I am not the first person to think that. Like apparently that's
Yeah.
actually a so that's cool.
It's in the
That
books. Yeah.
Oh, is it like an actual thing in the books?
Yeah. I think it's the one William Shatner wrote or co-wrote or something. I think the Return, where he comes back to life after he dies in Generations.
Well,
Uh,
that's cool. Because it's it's cool that now tell me this: are the Borg in Star Trek basically the biggest threat that the that Starfleet will ever face?
DS9, the War of the Dominion, gets pretty crazy. I would say that one's a little bit more insidious because they're not just fighting one group; they're fighting several alien
Okay.
races, and yeah,
Well, regardless, it's almost as if, in a roundabout way, the humans have created one of their largest enemies.
yeah,
Uh,
definitely. Um, and if I was doing the new Picard show, and that they made their, I think this is part of the plot, but I would have the Borg be joining the Federation if I was doing like because that's kind of what Star Trek is. They encounter enemies and then they eventually become friends with them and bring them into the Federation. So um,
here's what I'll say. There is a possibility that all of the Star Trek that people hate um, might be my cup of tea because from the very little I've seen of Picard, it kind of looks like Star Wars, and I feel like that's why people don't like it.
oh,
Um,
the new show, yeah.
yeah,
Um, yeah, I have not watched Picard, so I couldn't tell you. Which was sad because for years I was like, they should do a new Star Trek Next Generation show and catch up with the crew because I don't like how the last movie ended, blah blah blah. And then I started hearing things about Picard. I was like, oh, I don't think I want to watch that. Though I hear season 3 is supposed to be great. But all right, Deja Q. I
I
don't
did
think you
not
like.
like. No, I did not like this episode. I think I don't like Q.
Well, and it's fun though, funny though, because you keep going. Oh, I think I might like original series more. It's all Q type aliens on the original series. That's all they encounter on there. Is oh, we found another omnipotent alien that's
Yeah.
messing with us.
Well, so the reason that I think I might like TOS more is because you know what, Riker and Troy and Jordy, Data, like they're all fun characters. The reason I think I might like TOS better is just because like from what I can tell, the focus of TOS is these three men and
Yeah,
their relationship. And I feel like that's why I could latch on to TOS a little bit better, is because as far as protagonist goes, it's a little bit more focused. Um,
right. Well, Next Generation is more of an ensemble
right.
than TOS was.
And honestly, me personally, I've never been an ensemble person, like in general. So that might be part of it. But yeah, Deja Q.
So
On
basically, the story is Q has to live as a human as punishment for something he did, and so they have to teach. It's kind of like they did the story in Marvel Comics where the Beyonder had to act like a human, and they had to teach him how to do human stuff. It's very similar,
It's kind of like that episode of Hannah Montana where Jake had to not live as a star and he had to learn to live as a normal person.
if you say so.
um, no, honestly though, I will say part of me going into this episode, it was not great because you know how like on streaming services it has like a little like thumbnail of like a
Was it the
still.
mariachi band?
It was the mariachi band.
That's the best
Um,
part of the episode.
and so going into this episode, I'm like, and so this was actually the first episode I watched because canonically, like release order, this was the first episode on the list,
Uh huh.
and so this was the first episode I watched, and I went into it like mariachi band. I'm like, oh no, this is whatever at Farpoint again.
It's kind of a silly episode. I like it. So
It is. I forgot that Whoopi Goldberg was in the show,
yeah,
and not just like a guest star. Like
no,
she
she's
was
on there
like
quite a bit.
she was a character.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was not a fan of Deja Q. I will say this is probably my least favorite of the episodes. This is my least favorite of the episodes that you had me watch,
Okay,
and
that's fair. It's kind of a more lighthearted, silly episode. So that's fine.
but at the same time, from what I remember, this episode is better than anything I watched from whenever I tried to watch TNG
Oh
last
yeah,
year.
season one is and season two are a mess. There was a writer strike going on. There was a lot going on. They did not know what to do with the show. All right, let's talk about Disaster. One of my all time favorite episodes. What do you think of Disaster?
This one was kind of fun. Uh, this is an episode that like I couldn't take all the time because it kind of had like different perspectives, and like I said, I'm not much of an ensemble person, but every so often I can get with an episode like this.
Well,
Honestly,
this is a fun character piece because you get to see the characters all stuck in different scenarios and how they're going to deal with them.
this
And
reminded me of like not of a specific episode, but just in general, this is like a Firefly episode.
yeah, I could see
Uh,
that.
which yeah, it's a lot of fun.
The whole
And
wharf and the pregnancy stuff. That's all fun.
yeah, now is there like a um because I the idea of the red shirts comes from TOS, right?
Yes.
Is there something that has to do with Worf? Because I feel like he's always getting put on his back.
Say it again. I'm sorry. I was checking what's going on in the chat. What's going on?
I just feel like he's always being put on his back.
Oh,
Uh,
there's a lot of memes online about Worf always getting knocked out or he gets hit. He can't open doors. There's a running gag about him being unable to open doors.
Okay,
Yeah.
because I'm just like I feel like he's kind of like the big guy that like the bad guy beats up to show um uh how threatening the villains are, because oh man, he took out Worf, but I feel like Worf is taken out every episode.
Uh, he's a lot tougher in DS9. Once he moves over there, and yeah, but there is some of that where it's like, I don't know. Worf's a lot cooler on DS9, but well, that's a topic for another day. Uh, Clues. Now, Clues, I think is probably the weakest episode I put on the list, but I just felt like it was like a typical Star Trek episode. So, what did you think of Clues?
This one wasn't horrible. Like I said, Deja Q is probably my least favorite of the ones that I watched.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but this one is a lot of fun. Um, this is the one with the wormhole, right?
It's been a while since I've seen this. This is the one where like someone's like, "Oh, I have a broken arm. I've never broken my arm. Well, what is
Yes,
that?" Yeah, they like erase their memories or something. Yeah,
yes. It was a lot of fun because um, one of my favorite things in general about JoJo's um, is King Crimson's stand, which kind of erases people's memories, uh, essentially. So like someone eats a brownie, but like it's as if the brownie was never there. And so it kind of reminded me of that, and it was a lot of fun because it's just a fun thing to think about, and that is what I, for the most part, have gotten from Next Generation. Is Next Generation is a bunch of ideas, and you just kind of have to sit with it.
yeah. Um, all right, I'm just trying to move through these a little quick because we're gonna start running out of time here. Inner Light, a lot of people say is the greatest episode of Star Trek Next Generation. Just curious what you thought about it.
So
This is the one where Picard gets hit by a satellite or something, and he wakes up living a different life of a doomed
yes,
community, and you see like his whole life.
yes, this is not the episode that I expected. Because whenever I saw the word light, I had heard about like the four lights or something.
That's the chain of command. That's a different
Yeah.
episode. Yeah.
So that's what I thought that I was getting.
Hmm.
But this one was great. I did like this. Uh, Perhaps it's because it wasn't a whole lot of Star Trek. But uh, no, this is good.
And what's cool is after this point, you'll just see Picard in a scene, and he'll just pull out the flute and start playing it, and
Oh
you're like, "Oh,
really?
it's the flute! Yeah, he learned how to play that. Yeah, that's cool."
But no, this one was good because I don't care much for and whenever I say this, it's not that I don't care about the ideas and I don't care about the philosophy, which I feel like the show is a lot of.
Hmm.
But you have to get me to care about the characters beforehand. And a lot of these episodes, unfortunately, I feel like is like ideas and philosophy before characters. Um, but this episode very much was Picard, and like let's get into his character.
Hmm.
Um, which once again I feel like is why I would like TOS better, because from what I can tell, it's about those three men and their friendship.
Yeah.
Uh, I think that's why I liked Best of Both Worlds as much as I did. Not because like I had like Best of Both Worlds is very much a like I said, it could be considered a stunt episode, but for me, it really is just about Riker.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and uh, just an episode focusing on Riker and his reluctancy to move on, I guess.
Yeah, and they deal
Um,
with that quite a bit on the show. As Riker, why is he stuck as first officer? Why isn't he moved on as captain?
which is an interesting thing for me as a 26-year-old man who has been uh, thinking about these things myself the past couple of years. Very, very interesting.
Yeah.
But now I'm talking about Best of Both Worlds again.
Well, that's fine.
But yeah, I really like Best of Both Worlds. But anyway, yeah, no, it's when Star Trek focuses on a character, I think that's whenever it's at its best.
Yeah. So the drumhead. This is episode I had never seen until recently, like a few years ago, and I really liked it. I thought that this was it kind of reflected what was going on in the real world quite a bit. So
This is the
um,
conspiracy episode, right?
yeah, where they think someone blew up part of the ship, and they think, oh well, this person's a Romulan, didn't tell us, so obviously the Romulans are behind it, and then it turns into, oh well, this and this that, and everybody starts pointing fingers at everybody, and then it turns out, oh, it was just an accident, nothing happened, and the I can't remember what she was. She's like a judge or whatever. She's like, she's gonna convict everybody of this if she can get away with it. Like she wants to convict Picard. She wants, by the end, she's just out of control.
Hmm.
And I think maybe when I watched it, was like the Trump impeachment or something was going on or
Jeez.
something, but it was just like we're convicting everybody, and you can see how quickly in politics, like all these, like Senate committees and stuff, how quickly it turns into everybody's going down for this, and so um, or you're
No,
part of
this
this group or that group, and
no this so this was a very interesting episode. This one was definitely like if we're talking about ideas versus character, I feel like this one was definitely more ideas.
mm-hmm.
Um, because there's not like a specific character that it focuses on. Um, but it is definitely interesting and here's the thing. I'm not going to say that Star Trek is prophetic. I'm saying that it is just so easy to predict this stuff
Oh yeah.
because
Well, history
history
repeats
repeats it.
its. Yeah.
Yeah, history repeats itself.
There's an
When
episode of Deep Space Nine that is like set in like 2016 or something, and they were like in the 90s, and they nailed some stuff.
jeez.
So, um, yeah, I really like this episode. You look at history like back in the 20s and 30s where they were accusing everybody of being communists. Some of them actually were communists, but that it's that type of craze, or we're suspicious of everybody, kind of like after 9/11 we were suspicious of everybody, um so yeah, very interesting episode. Another one of my favorite episodes is Cause and Effect. Basically they're stuck in a time loop where they keep blowing up every it kind of reminds me of like an episode of C Lab on Adult Swim where the station keeps blowing up. What do you think of Cause and Effect?
I love Kelsey Grammer. Uh, he's great.
He is.
Uh, I kind of wish that like maybe he could have been like a character that perhaps was on the show or maybe kept popping up. But yeah, I love Kelsey Grammer. This one was a lot of fun. Causality loops are always fun.
Hmm. And
Um,
seeing how they break out of it, like they have to send a message to Data, and it has to be a very short message, and he sends like the number 3 over and over, and it's just really cool.
yeah. Um, I will say that it was about around this time that I discovered who my least favorite character is,
Uh huh.
and it's Beverly Crusher. I am not a fan of it. I don't know if that's a hot take in Star Trek.
Oh, I need.
It,
I should have made. I should. I'm almost tempted to follow this up, make you to watch like the 10 worst episodes. There's one where she falls in love with a candle. It's infamous. Um,
so me not liking Beverly Crusher is not a hot take in the Star Trek
uh,
community.
I kind of like all the characters, because I kind of grew up with them. But yeah,
Sure,
I
sure.
could see her being one of your least favorite characters. Sure, I could
Like
see that.
I went in ready to hate Wesley because I've heard the
I didn't
jokes.
see Jenny Wesley episodes. I don't think he may have been on one or two, but
He was on some of them, but he was not
yeah,
a character in any of them.
yeah.
Um, but I don't know. Like, I guess if people hate Wesley, then the apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
I mean, I like Beverly, but I could see that. I could see why you wouldn't like her.
I mean, it's one of those things where it just kind of seems like a lot of the interpersonal conflict has to do with her, and that's annoying. Um, I assume that like are they like the Sam and Diane of Star Trek, Picard and Beverly? Is that
It gets to that towards the end, and we'll go ahead and jump to all good things, the finale, where they said that yeah, they did get together at some point and got divorced. And then they kind of dropped that in the movies. They don't explore that anymore. But I'm wondering if Picard season 3 they're going to explore that because the whole cast is supposed to be back for Picard season 3.
I do
Um,
know that that Riker and Troy came back in Picard.
yeah, yeah, and Data I think has been involved, sorta. Um,
I want to watch Picard, but I know that Seven of Nine is a major character, but I don't want to watch Voyager.
Voyager. I need to finish watching Voyager sometime. Um, I stopped watching around the time she joined. So, what do you think of All Good Things? Um,
All good things. I think from a finale perspective, just putting myself in that mindset, I think this was a really good finale.
yeah,
Um, Now, I feel like I would have felt more had I, been with
what
these characters
7 years? Yeah,
for 7 years. Yeah. Uh, but yeah, this was a cool episode. I think the best finales also don't feel like finales,
hmm
and so that's what had this going for it.
it's also
Um,
cool how they tie it back into the first episode.
yes, it just is unfortunate that that's probably the worst episode I've seen.
Yeah, it's not great, but it's cool that the first episode they're on trial by Q, and oh, guess what? The trial never ended.
Right, right, yeah, yeah. Which honestly, that makes sense.
hmm
This is probably the best Q episode that I've seen.
Okay, there's
Um,
another. There's I, like Q only appears like once a season. Um, there's one where he puts them all in Sherwood Forest. That one's kind of fun. Um, and then there's one where Picard, um, something happens to his heart, and it's due to an injury he had when he was in his youth. So Q's like, "Don't you want to see what happens if your life where you didn't have that injury?" And like, so he shows him a world where Picard never became captain. He never took chances. So that's an interesting episode.
okay.
So, um, yeah, all good things is a fun finale. Then they move on to the movies at this point.
And
Generations.
I have
Okay,
seen all the movies.
okay. I think the only one really worth watching is First Contact.
Yes.
uh,
Generations is bad.
it's okay,
Um,
but it could have been better. I don't mind Insurrection. I think it's okay,
I
but
think Insurrection is the worst of them.
oh really? But I
Yeah.
haven't seen it in like 20 years. So
Well, Insurrection is the one where they're like on the planet and like someone falls in love with someone, and it's
Yeah,
like,
it's like the Fountain of Youth planet or something that
yeah,
rides
yeah,
after it.
no, yeah. From what I remember, that's like my least favorite of the four.
Okay. Nemesis made me angry, but that's every once in a while a movie will just make me angry, and that
I
was
remember that you were the bad guy, Tom Hardy. You won't make me forget.
all right. So overall, do you like Star Trek more, or you're kind of like, eh, or
I like it more. I can definitely. This is not a show that I can binge. This might be a show where, like, every so often I'll throw on an episode.
so this show was a little bit handcuffed by Gene Roddenberry, the creator of Star Trek. He died around season 4, and after his death, the show gets better. Because he was kind of like, oh, you can't do that, you can't do that, you can't do that, and so he was always limiting what the writers could and couldn't do.
Okay.
Um, and then around season 4, they start playing with all these different ideas that they'll take and spin off into Deep Space Nine. And so Deep Space Nine is like the dark, seedier side of the more morally gray side of Star Trek.
Now, Deep Space Nine is not a show where it can be like, here's 10 episodes. Like Deep Space Nine is, it is episodic, right?
Once you get to like season 3, I think it's like one big story till the end at that point. I mean, I could give you 10 episodes. There's some standalones here or there, but it wouldn't quite be the same. I could probably give you like 5 episodes that are pretty cool.
I don't know.
Um,
I think with Deep Space Nine, I've heard enough good stuff about it that I might start
yeah,
that from the beginning, maybe.
you'll probably struggle with season 1. I ain't gonna lie. It takes a while for them to kind of find their footing and stuff.
Is that just a thing with Star Trek? Does season one always suck?
I think that's with a lot of TV shows. They don't really find their voice right away, you know. And Star Trek has this weird thing where a lot of the shows don't get good till one of the characters grow facial hair.
I have
So with
heard this.
Cisco is bald and has the beard. Okay, now we're getting somewhere, So, all right. So I'm glad that you got to watch some of this and give Star Trek a
I
chance.
enjoyed it more than I thought I would.
All right, so let's flip to Star Wars: The Clone Wars. Um, I didn't make a banner for this? Hold on 1 second. Star Wars. So I had been watching Star Wars: The Clone Wars off and on. Like I'd forget it was on. What
Yeah.
happened a lot.
Well, I mean,
And
it came out on Friday nights, so that's not.
yeah, and then I'd forget there's new episodes. So I'd see bits and pieces. So there's chunks of it I've seen and chunks of it I haven't seen. The big turnoff for me was the pilot movie. It's
Yeah.
terrible. Um, but I think there are some good episodes out there. Um, so I had stopped watching it altogether though once it moved off of Cartoon Network. I think is what happened. Um,
I think I gave you one arc that you said you hadn't seen that was on Cartoon Network.
um, okay. Uh, yeah. So these are the episodes you gave me to watch, and I'm trying to
Yes.
respond to my kid on a text message. So, um, this tied up some of the mysteries that I had with unanswered questions, Sifo-Dyas, that sort of thing. Um, so let's go through these. The Shadow Collective, that was Darth Maul making his
Yes.
moves. I thought those episodes were a lot of fun.
Yes. Yes.
Um,
I do enjoy those. I think my favorite part um, is whenever Maul kills Satine. Um, if you notice, Obi-Wan is holding Satine the same way that he held Qui-Gon in
yeah,
um, which is, it's like poetry. It rhymes, as George Lucas would say.
hmm
Um, But yeah, so Shadow Collective arc, because you said that you've already seen the Ahsoka sabotage arc.
Soka
Um,
Sap. If you start describing it, then probably yes.
it's the one where Ahsoka is framed for the bombing at the Jedi Temple,
Okay,
and then
it's been a
she,
long time, but yes, I
yeah.
think I
Oh,
have seen that one. Yeah.
so that 4 episode arc is technically the season 5 finale. So
Hmm.
Shadow Collective takes place right before it, and you said you hadn't seen it, so I'm like, you know what? We'll give you the one from Cartoon Network, and then everything past this is either Netflix or Disney Plus.
Okay. Yeah, the Mandalorian stuff I find complicated sometimes because
Yes, very
I've
much so.
seen parts of Rebels and this and that, and they're like, oh well, this person's a Mandalorian, this person isn't, and oh, who's got the dark saber now, and it's a lot of it's like it's like trying to watch Game of Thrones every fifth episode. So I keep missing parts of the
Right.
story, and I'm like, okay, who's in charge now? And yeah,
I'm
so
really hoping that Mandalorian season 3, like with Din Djarin holding the dark saber, I hope that like in some way he takes over as Mandalore and he simplifies things.
yeah.
Because he himself is a foundling. He is not of Mandalorian blood, and
Mhm.
so if you have a foundling as the Mandalore, um, then that simplifies Mandalorian culture real quickly.
Yeah. So I always love Clancy Brown. Savage Opress is a cool character.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, by the way, the Maul and Savage versus
Sidious.
City, great fight.
Yeah. Um, yeah. So yeah, I enjoyed this one quite a bit. Uh, I thought the Chip episode was cool, where basically one of the clone troopers starts short circuiting and kills a Jedi because Order
Yep.
66 got activated too early. Um, this had one of my favorite Jedi's on there, Shock T.
Yep.
Um, Although I don't like her as much on this version of Clone Wars, I liked her a lot on the Jindy Tartakovsky Clone
Yeah.
Wars, which I feel like they took that characterization and just gave it all to Ahsoka or something, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Very much so.
Um, which is weird. I'm not a huge Ahsoka fan, but I'm a huge Shakti fan. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like Ahsoka is kind of like the ripoff version of Shakti. So,
I can see
um,
that.
yeah, but I thought this was interesting, fun little conspiracy. It reminded me a little bit of the movie DOA, where he's trying to figure out who poisoned him before. You know, like there's a ticking clock going on with this. What's his name? Fives or something.
Fives, yeah.
Yeah.
So just to give you some perspective, just in case you've forgotten, so Fives is a clone that has been in the show since season 1.
Okay, so
Um,
he was an old character. Okay.
yeah. Do you remember Rookies, the episode where it's just about the rookie clones, and then Rex and Cody have to go save them?
I
It's
think so. It's been
it's
so long.
so it's like the 5th episode of season 1.
Yeah.
Um, so those clones keep coming back. There's Echo and Fives, which are like the big ones.
Hmm.
Um, in fact, Echo, who supposedly died in season 3, I believe. Um, he actually comes back because it turns out he didn't die. He was actually captured by um, the clones, and so the droids, and so he's actually half clone, half droid at this point, and he is actually a member of the Bad Batch.
Okay.
Um,
So let's get on a tangent real quick. The Bad Batch, these are all clones that survived Order 66, or
so the Bad Batch are all clones that have some sort of defect in the cloning process.
okay.
And so they're Clone Force 99 because Clone 99 was the first to have a defect. So Wrecker, he's actually like this big burly guy. because his clone was wrong. So everyone in the Bad Batch has like a birth defect, and instead of throwing them away, they made them like these super commandos.
Gotcha.
And so when you've got someone who's half clone, half droid, of course they're on the Bad Batch.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so I think my favorite part about the Chip arc is how frustrating it is.
So that's what I was going to mention out of all these episodes is I understand George Lucas wrote them into a corner, but I get frustrated with the Jedi.
Yes.
I get very frustrated because I'm like, you have all the pieces, especially if you go through these episodes. They're like, okay, we know that Palpatine's up to something. We know there's a Dark Lord of the Sith somewhere. We know that there's something up these chips and these clone sets. Oh well, we don't have time to worry about that right now. It's just like it's all right there.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things where it's like, you have all the pieces, but the Jedi don't do anything, and so it's almost like they did this to themselves.
Yeah, I agree. Um, all right, so the Lost Ones. That's where they started investigating Sifo Dyas.
Yes, so this is the one that I was really excited for you to watch because I've told you about this episode for so long. Um, Now that you get the entire story of Sifo Dyas, what do you think?
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's just kind of like, oh, okay, so it's just whatever.
it's exactly what you thought it was.
Yeah. I-
um, but no, the thing that I think is hilarious that I never realized until watching this is whenever they're like, "Watch Yul Tyrannus," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, you guys technically didn't know that he was a Sith Lord until just now."
yeah, it's like it's frustrating again.
Yeah. Well, and
Uh,
this is the one. This is like the Lost one. Like if we're talking about the chip and how frustrating it is, the Lost one is technically where they literally have all of the answers and they still do nothing.
yeah. Um, so Moraband, I enjoyed this one quite a bit.
I thought
It,
you would.
it was a fun exploration of. I like the creatures with all the different masks and all that, and um, Yoda trying to find out about Force ghosts and all that.
Hmm.
Um,
Darth Bane.
yeah, I thought this was cool, but then again, he has his vision where it's like clear as day that Palpatine is Sidious, and
Yeah.
he still doesn't figure it out. I'm just like, ah.
Yeah.
It's just frustrating. And again, like I said, I know it's like when if you go back and read the comic books, the old Marvel Star Wars comic books that are set between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, they're all about we gotta find Han, but they're not allowed to find Han because if they did,
Yeah.
they would Return of the Jedi. So it's all these like dead ends and red herrings and stuff, and you get frustrated.
Hmm.
And I feel like it's the same thing here. It's like,
Yeah.
well, the Jedi are never allowed to figure this stuff out. We can hint about it, we can talk about the stuff, but they can never succeed,
Yeah.
and it gets
But
frustrating.
I think it's a little different because like I think them not succeeding isn't just it's not just um a writer's issue. It really is the Jedi have been blind for 20 years at this point.
Well, they haven't had to deal with the Sith, and they've kind of forgotten, and they've grown complacent, and they're
Mm,
just
stagnated and uh Yoda I remember reading some that Yoda was actually getting them ready for the Sith, but he didn't take into account that the Sith could adapt.
hmm,
Because the last time they dealt with the Sith, they were front and center. They weren't in the shadows.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I thought you'd like Moraband. It's a fun episode. It's almost as if it's Yoda's final trial, so much longer into his life.
Yeah, and I always like Dagobah's cave and all that stuff. It's always fun.
Yeah.
So
And then the episode that everyone loves, and it probably should have been a finale movie in its own right.
yeah,
Siege of Mandalore.
and I don't know why on Disney Plus you can't just watch it as a movie.
Yeah,
You should be able to just click watch Siege of Mandalore, and it should just play like a movie.
yeah,
Um, yeah, so this is. I'm glad you maybe watched Shadow Collective before this one because I would have been like, "What?"
yeah, yeah.
um, but yeah, it's interesting how what I found most interesting was how Anakin was acting at the beginning, like, "Oh, this is just another day," not knowing that within 24, 48 hours he's gonna become Darth Vader.
Right.
And he's like he like cares for Ahsoka, and he's giving our lightsabers back and all this stuff, and then it's like, oh, by the way, in 48 hours you're gonna have the worst day of your life, you
Right.
know. And so I found that interesting. Um, and I was sitting there like, well, how is Rex going to be unaffected by Order 66? So I'm glad that they explained all that. And
Hmm.
um, yeah, I thought this was interesting. Um, I'm sure if I had remembered the series better, the final scene would have had more effect on me, where she was looking at all of the helmets of everybody. So I'm like, oh, I'm sure these characters were like in every episode,
Yes.
and now so this is shocking that they're all dead.
So Jesse is another clone that shows up a lot. So Rex not being able to get through to Jesse is intended to be extremely heartbreaking.
Yeah,
Um,
I, I
so
I found Ahsoka frustrating in this episode though, where she's like, "Don't kill anybody." Then she gets everybody killed.
right, right.
Everybody on the ship, the droids, everybody's dead. It's like,
Mhm.
oh, okay, maybe we should have just
Um,
killed everybody.
I I a couple standout points in Siege of Mandalore, which I think as Clone Wars fans, and I talk to a lot of Clone Wars fans, we all have our personal favorite arcs. Like my personal favorite arc is the box, which I've made you watch.
Hmm.
Um, but I think we all agree that this is technically the best that the show ever gets.
Yeah, I liked how it did the Lucasfilm Limited logo at the beginning. Like, oh, this is a big deal. What you're about to
Yeah,
watch. This
yeah,
is
they knew. And watching these from week to week was a lot of fun too, because like Cameron and we were still living with our parents at the time. We're in the basement where I got this giant TV sitting in the dark, and then he says, "I was hoping for Kenobi. Why are you here?"
so let's talk about Darth Maul for a second. So
Okay.
spoilers if you haven't seen Rebels, he dies during Rebels.
Yes.
Um, but then he shows up in Solo. Is that supposed to be set after
No.
or before Rebels?
Solo is before Rebels.
Okay, maybe that's where I'm confused. Okay,
Rebels is probably like 5 years before A New Hope. Solo is like 10 or 11 years before.
gotcha. Okay, that makes way more sense.
Yeah.
Okay,
But because you got to remember that it's Alec Guinness Obi-Wan that kills him,
yeah, got okay,
uh,
that makes sense.
which is also cool because he holds Maul like he holds Qui-Gon and Satine.
Yeah,
It
I
I just love that he
I,
shows
I
up.
really like the Darth Maul storyline. I really
Yes.
it's because he was kind of just this throwaway bad guy in Phantom Menace, and they kind of turned him into something way more.
Yeah.
So
I'm trying to remember so it may have been Dave Filoni that called him this, but there's that one Greek mythological character who would like roll like a boulder up a
yeah,
hill,
yeah,
but then would go down the hill, and so
uh,
like that is Maul essentially.
yeah. He can never reach the top.
Yeah.
And it
Um.
was I did enjoy on these where Maul starts figuring out, oh, he's activating the plan. Oh,
Yeah.
Sidious is finally making the move.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that stuff
Um.
was cool.
Oh yeah. I loved all that. Also, it's not just Vader and Luke that have their hallway scenes. It's Maul that has his hallway scene, and it's great.
And I did find it jarring where I didn't realize what was happening. Where all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, Dooku's dead." I was like, "Oh, we're at that point of the story." Okay, you
Mhm.
know, it just
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
comes out of nowhere. It's like, "Oh, okay, I know what's happening now." Okay.
yeah, yeah. So, if I were to watch if I were to watch stuff in like chronological order, because I did my chronological order thing before this came out. If I were to do that again, I'd probably watch the first two episodes of the Siege of Mandalore,
Hmm.
then Revenge of the Sith, and then the last two episodes. That's probably how I would do it.
Well, my brother watched all of these recently, and he said there are guides online where you, okay, stop the Clone Wars episode here, play this part of Revenge of the Sith, and start playing this again. And
Yeah, yeah.
so,
I'm sure people have edited these two
oh,
together at
I'm
some
sure
point.
they have. Yeah, definitely.
Um, Also, fun fact. So objectively, the fight between Ahsoka and Maul is the best lightsaber fight in the whole show, and there is a reason for that. Um, this was the only lightsaber duel that was completely motion capture.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and guess who they got to do Maul's motion capture?
I would
They got
assume Ray Parks. Yeah.
yeah, they got Ray Park, which I thought was
Cool.
super cool that they got Ray Park back to do
Yeah.
all that.
Yeah, that's awesome. All
Um,
right, so that was Clone Wars. It's nice to remind me that yeah, Star Wars can be good and fun.
yeah,
It may not have been for a while, but you know, there are shining moments that okay. Um, I'm I'm hopeful. I got to quit getting hopeful though for these things because I'm like, you know, Star Wars is just gonna let me down again. And it's kind of like Star Trek's just gonna let me down again, and Marvel's just gonna, you know. So it's you kind of have to pick and choose. Like, oh, we're here with the great moments. I'll watch those, and I'll ignore everything else. And so this was cool to see some of these great Star Wars moments.
yeah. And then I mean, at some point, you still got Tales of the Jedi, which kind of gives you a little bit more Ahsoka and Dooku.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm hopeful for the Ahsoka series. I'm hopeful that I hope it kind of opens the door of multiple paths the future could take, where you can say, oh, the sequel trilogy exists in this world, but there's also a world where it doesn't exist, and I can still have my Luke as a hero. Well, we'll see. Um, all right, so that's our discussion on Star Wars, the Clone Wars, and Star Trek Next Generation. Will you be checking out any more Star Trek Next Generation, or are you done with this show?
I I probably will not actively seek out Next Generation, but it doesn't turn me off to the franchise completely. Like I
Okay.
said, um, watching Next Generation and kind of because I think at this point I've kind of accept because I think you're probably the third or fourth person to try to get me into Next Generation. I think I've accepted that Next Generation may not be my bag, but now I'm curious to see what Star Trek is my bag, and so I'm very interested in TOS.
I'm
I'm very
tempted to
interested.
give you one episode of Deep Space Nine. It's kind of spoilery, but just kind of you'll see how different it is from Next Generation. Um,
Which episode's that? Go ahead and give it.
oh, give me 5 seconds, and I will tell you the name of it. In the Pale Moonlight. Just compare how Picard is to how Cisco is. This episode will tell you everything about how Cisco is completely different.
Is Jack Nicholson in this episode?
He is not, sadly.
So
There
like,
is an alien that acts like Jack Nicholson in one of these episodes, but I don't think it's this one.
so you're saying that Cisco doesn't dance with the devil in the pale moonlight?
He might as well. This is considered by many to be the darkest episode of Star Trek.
Okay.
It has one of my favorite characters, Garrick, on there. Uh, just to give you kind of a heads up, the Cardassians are an alien race that had occupied Bajor, and So they left, and when they left a Cardassian there on Deep Space Nine, and that's Garrick, and he's the tailor on the space station. And so you're kind of like, why is there a Cardassian here? Didn't they um, get rid of all them? You know, the occupation's over. You kind of find out he's in exile, but what is his deal? And then you start finding out, oh, this guy used to be like kind of like their CIA. There's a lot more to him than what appears, and so he's a fun, devious character. So this episode has a lot to do with him. Um, and yeah, this is a if you want to see if Deep Space Nine is your cup of tea, this might be a fun episode to check.
Trying to think if I've. I'm trying to think if I've seen Avery Brooks in anything else. I don't.
Avery Brooks used to be on Spencer for Hire when I was a kid. Um, and then he did this. I think that's kind of like the two things he's done.
Okay. So is it really just like Patrick Stewart was the one who like shot off from Star Trek?
With a career, I mean, LeVar Burton he had Reading Rainbow before this. Maybe Jerry Ryan. I think that's her name. 7 of 9. I mean, she's done some stuff, but no, I don't think any of them have really had the success of Patrick Stewart's career. I'm trying to think. Jeffrey Combs is in a lot of stuff, but
Oh yeah, I do love Jeffrey Combs. He was Scarecrow and The Question.
yeah, he's on Deep Space Nine a lot. Jeffrey Combs
Okay.
is.
Which, by the way, that's your answer to man, what character should get movies? The Question and
Oh
Plastic
yeah.
Man. Those two.
Yeah, I can see that.
I feel like James Gunn could like his Plastic Man movie would be the greatest superhero movie of all time.
Well, I was listening to a live stream the other night. They were saying, oh, with James Gunn, you got all these characters around the table, like Ambush Bug or the Creeper, just all these obscure characters you could throw in there. So,
For the Creeper, I would want them to get like an actual like oh, you know who played the Creeper? John Hamm.
sure, yeah, I can see that. Yeah,
We're not even talking about Star Trek or Star Wars
yeah.
anymore.
All right, let's wrap this up here.
Yeah.
So that was our discussion on Star Trek and Star Wars. Next week we'll probably do something holidays ish, maybe our favorite holiday specials or something, because that was be the week before Christmas. We'll try to get some obscure holiday specials maybe you haven't heard of. So until then, I've been Final Monkey.
And I'm Caleb.
We will talk to you then.
See ya.
Bye.